Okay, so today we're going to be making ourselves a nice gift. It's not a gift, it's a commission, but it's not something I do a lot. This is going to be, it's called a stovetop cover slash noodle board, or aka noodle board, and it's also going to be acting as a cutting board or even a bread maker. These are pretty cool gifts. These are versatile gifts or accessories for your kitchen. It gives you extra counter space. I actually made one for my wife a few years back, and she uses it for a bread making slash cutting board, and also extra counter space when we're not using our regular noodle board. So we have multiple noodle boards in our house, but this is commissioned for a friend. This is going to be a little smaller than normal. This will be 20 inches wide by 21.5 inches deep, and it's going to be 1 inch thick. So we're going to be using maple, walnut, and padauk hardwoods, and we're going to be using all edge grain. As we start milling this up, we will start flipping these over and marking them up and doing a little layout here. So let's start cutting the rough length now. We're going to cut this. Two. So my steps typically are the same when building projects like this, whether it be a cutting board, stovetop cover, or even tabletops. I like to mill everything up. Let's start with the miter saw or jigsaw, depending on how cupped the wood is. If the wood's kind of janky, I like to use the jigsaw. I think it's a little safer from prevent from kickback on the miter saw. It can be pretty scary if you don't have a good straight edge, especially with longer boards. But a track saw and jointer would definitely be preferable if you want to get one straight edge first. But my steps are typically just lay everything out, cut like I said with the miter saw, jigsaw, circular saw, then take over to a jointer, and then the table saw to get the final width of everything. Then we're going to cut the final length here, and then we're going to start laying out how we want this pattern to look. So you can see here I'm laying out my pattern, but I'm also going to mark the side I want up. So these are the edge of the edge grain. I try to use edge grain whenever I'm making anything that's going to be used as a cutting board. Technically you could use face grain for these because this is not truly a cutting board, but this person is going to use it for both. So I just decided I'm going to use the edge grain for this, and that's a good way just to always mark it up. But now we know which side we want up, so now we're going to start trying to get the second straight edge after run through the jointer on the planer here. Now we could have done it before we ripped them up, but it just makes it a little easier for me, a little more manageable. I'm just going to run these pieces all through the planer, make sure we have no gaps before we start laminating and laying everything out. All right, let's go. So I'm seeing a couple of tiny little gaps in some of the walnut and the polyp pieces, and one each. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to run each piece here through the jointer to get it, make sure I have a straight edge, because I don't want a variation of width, different widths. When I glue these up, I want them all to be the same exact dimensions, and to calculate everything correctly kind of messed me up that way, because I had to run through the jointer, which I lost about, say a 1/16 of an inch off each piece. So I had to cut these little strips here. I'm kind of glad we did this. We're going to cut these little strips of maple here, and we're going to use these to put, give a little extra design in between the pieces of walnut here. You can see as we're laying this out, it looks a little nicer. So that's why we did that.
Walnut, some maple strips, some polyp. That's it, just those 3 species. And we're going to put a poplar back on these also. All right, let's go.
Okay, so now we're going to start with gluing up these pieces here. So we're going to be doing 2 separate glue ups to start. So this helps me run these through the planer. My planer is only just under 13 inches in width. So this board obviously is going to be 21 inches deep, roughly. So I'm going to have 2 pieces that are around, when they're all glued up, around 10 inches or so. So we're gonna do this in 3 glue ups altogether, but we're gonna start with 2. That way I can run these through the planer later after I get some of this glue gunk off to clean them up, and then we'll do 1 final glue up after that, and that will we can't run that through the planer at that point. So, but hopefully we'll have just 1 glue joint to clean up. So it just makes it a lot easier to manage and run. I don't have a big drum sander, so that's why we're doing 3 total glue ups here. But we're gonna start with these 2. Let these sit overnight, and then we'll run these to the planer the next day.
Calls on toes, safe side.
Okay, so now that we have everything planed down finally, we're going to do some little markings here where we're going to attach these, and we're just going to be using glue and biscuits here. I'm just going to be using biscuits to help me make sure everything stays aligned, and hopefully sure I don't need any calls or anything like that. It just helps, and also I just think it just helps with the strength of the glue up, and also just keeping everything nice and straight and level. So we're just going to be using, like I said, the biscuit joiner here and some glue, and we're going to do our final glue up and let it sit, and then we'll do a lot of sanding and clean up after that. Okay, so now everything's dried up. Our final board is pretty much assembled. We're going to now cut to the final length, and we're going to use the track saw for this. You can use your table saw if you have a big sled, or circular saw with a straight edge, like I mentioned earlier. But we're going to be using the track saw, make it nice and simple. And I know this cut will be precise. And also, what I like about the track saw, I definitely have less of any kind of tear out or anything like that, or any jagged type cut. It's a real smooth, clean cut. Barely need to sand it after the fact. But we're just going to cut both sides here. We're going to start with 1 straight edge, and then we'll get our final measurement of 20 inches, and then we'll cut to the final length officially. So now we're going to be doing our final cleanup for the most part. So a lot of sand in here. I like to work through my grits. I know a lot of people like talk about sanding, but sanding on a project like this is very, very key and vital. If you don't sand it correctly, it won't work out correct, and it won't look good. And you want to have a nice, smooth, even finish. So I'm also going to run a little chamfer on each edge here, besides the back end where we're going to be putting the back piece. We don't have to worry about that, at least on the top. But we will run a chamfer on all four sides. Otherwise on the bottom. So now we're going to start cutting our back. In the back, I was going to use poplar, but we decided we're going to use a piece of maple I had left over. It's a little thicker, less dimensioning. So now we're just going to lay this out, get our final marking. It's going to be 20 inches on the dot, and then we're going to just clean this up, do a little design changes on this, and then we'll mill it up, and then we're going to attach it.
This needs to be sitting at 21 and a half. 21 and a half on the dot. All right, perfect.
Okay, so this is probably a little overkill, but we're going to be laying this back lip on. We're going to be using glue and biscuits to start out with. This just help me definitely align it, and then ultimately we're going to be using some brad nails and screws also and fill the in with dowels. But right now we're just going to lay out our biscuit markings here. We're just going to this helps me just lay it out, make sure I know I'm flush on the back and also the bottom, so this lip doesn't have any overhang from the side to side or even top to bottom. So let's talk about this product here. So this is something I think that could be a pretty good seller because it's such a versatile accessory for your kitchen. You could use as a serving board. You could use as a cutting board, bread maker, for kneading your dough. You could use for a stovetop cover to give you more counter space. It's so versatile. You could put handles on these. You can right here, as you see, I'm going to cut these back little third-degree angles here just to give a little extra design for the back lip. And that's what we're doing here in the miter saw. We're just going to cut these, and then we're going to run it through the sander and just clean it up. And then we're going to run a little chamfer on all four sides. But this is just little design things. And so these are cool little gifts, I guess. Not really little, but these could be as big as need be. A full-size stove is typically, I think, 22 inches deep and about 29 inches in width, I believe. And you can make them as thick as need be. Most stovetop covers are usually pine or poplar, framing lumber or cheaper lumber, which is fine. And you just kind of like use a stain or put a little saying on them. You can put little side handles on them, etc. This, you could do the same thing with this, but they want to utilize as much space as possible. Say they didn't want any handles on these, but technically you could do it. So here we're going to put the backing on with some glue, the biscuits, some brad nails, and then later we're going to throw some screws in, and they're going to cover the holes with some dowels. So you can't see them. Not that you really would, since it's going to be facing the back, but still, just nice little features like this just help your product stand out. And you could sell these things probably for anywhere from $100 to $200 technically. I really believe that, especially with hardwood, maybe even more, depending on the thickness and the type of wood and your dimensions. So just keep that in mind. So you can see here it's very flush. We're going to do a little countersink here, and we're going to just then we're going to throw a little Forstner bit on, and then we're going to just drill it out a little bit, so that way we can put our little dowels in to cover up the holes. Okay, so now we're on to the final cleanup here. We're going to do our final sanding. We're going to do a little water pop. Then we'll throw some mineral oil on this and do a little more sanding. Obviously, we're going to put a little mark in here. I didn't really show that. I just kind of laid the iron on there and just sanded off the excess here. So we're just going to do one more final sanding after the water pop, and now we're going to lay some mineral oil on, and then we're going to put our board butter on, which I make in my spare time. I make some of this. I'll make like a big batch, and that's just mineral oil and beeswax. Essentially, all that is all food safe and chemical free, essentially. So that's what we're doing here. We're just going to put our mineral oil on, clean these up, and then we're going to do our final, like I said, put the board butter on, and this will be ready to be shipped out. Okay, this project's pretty much done. We're going to put a last coat of board butter on. I think it came out really nice. It's not something I do. It's not my business. I mainly do tables, but these I batch out, once in a while, or unless I get a specific order, like I did for this. I maybe make 20 to 30 cutting boards a year, maybe, and usually give out as gifts. This is not technically a cutting board, but it can act as one. That's why I like this. It's pretty cool. It's a cutting board because it is edge grain. And it's also a stovetop cover, so it's a very versatile piece here, I think, in my opinion. So I'm curious what people think. If you see these around, if there is a market for this, let me know. And any comments or recommendations, I'm always open to. And thanks for watching.